Hey, you, yeah, you. Are you dreaming of going from rags to copper in no time, Minecraft 1.21 style? In other words, are you looking for the perfect start to Minecraft 1.21 and at the same time, a start that will fast track you all the way down to your first trial chamber? If yes, today I got you. How you doing, everybody? It's me, Waddles, and welcome back to a different episode of the Minecraft Guide. We're going to talk all about the things you need to do first off in your world to fast track you from a brand new world all the way over to a trial chambers. This guide is meant a little bit more for those of you who are making a new world in 1.21. If you're planning on keeping your pre-existing world like I am, then maybe consider checking out this episode instead. Either way though, sit back, relax, and enjoy, because here is how to get the perfect start in Minecraft 1.21. So you made it. It's finally update day numero uno. The most crucial thing before you start your world is that perfect world name, and good world names, and I think I got the one. Now a little prequel to the best start in Minecraft 1.21 has to do with the game rules. There are a couple game rules you might want to consider changing before you jump into your world. The first one that I always like to change is this one right here. If I bump that number up to say 8, then the snow will actually be able to pile up, and it's pretty cool looking. The other game rule you might want to change, especially if you're doing multiplayer, is this one right here. It's a brand new one. If I turn this on, that means if me and my boy are inside of a boat, well, we can sail through the portal and it'll work. And that'll actually also go for single player as well. If you're in a boat with a villager trying to move it around, well, you could sail it clean through a portal. But anyways, here we are, day number 1 inside of a Minecraft world. It feels fresh, it's new, but also more importantly for us today, it feels like tough and copper. Minecraft 1.21, baby. First things first, inside of our world, it's back to that good old-fashioned boofs that we talked all about in this episode right here, which, by the way, the entire earlier part of the Minecraft guide, because of the changes that were made in 1.21, well, it's still insanely relevant. So if you're ever looking for some more early game tips after this episode, maybe go back into the playlist and, you know, check out the episodes. We got the beautiful tree that I chopped down all the way and a giant plains biome. Inside of this great plains biome with a little bit of wood secured, it's time I start running around and looking for the most important thing. And that most important thing's been the most important thing for years now. We need to find a bed first things first. Now, lucky for you, finding a bed and securing that so we can thrive should be relatively easy. Sheep spawn in practically every single biome in the world except for exactly where I'm standing right now. I think I see some over there, no big deal. But that's only one part of boofs. The other parts of boofs are going to be food and shelter. After you secure yourself a bed and lock in, it's time to start considering food. Especially if you're trying to speedrun 1.21 and make your way down to the trial chambers ASAP. If you're playing things on Minecraft Java, one of the best food farms that I could recommend that you could totally build within day 2 is a cow crusher farm. On the other hand, if you're on Bedrock, because entity cramming doesn't exist, consider jumping into your local river and farming salmon or cod for a little bit of time. And then last but not least, you're gonna wanna have shelter. Now for today, because we're talking about the perfect start of 1.21, how to make your way down to the trial chambers ASAP, if you can get lucky early on and locate a village, mark down that village where it is once you find it, and then not go too far away from that village, then you're gonna be golden. Village, 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 home sweet home. So after a tiny bit of quick setup work, it's time for that normal survival Minecraft grind. We continue that early Minecraft grind until we feel comfortable heading down into the depths alone. Now, one final thing that I recommend doing before you head down into the caves to prep yourself for the next set that we're going to take on a little bit later on once we're more geared up, sugarcane. If you found even a little bit of it, it's smart to start a basic farm for this stuff. Depending on where you're ending up settling and maybe where you're going to head down into the ground, try and set this farm up where it will be loaded in. Even if you're not up on the surface, if you build it near where you're going to be, it'll continue to grow. That way, once we make our way back up to the surface, we'll be able to harvest the farm and expand. Alright, so I realized I kind of turned through a lot of early game Minecraft for you right there, but great news, 1.21 hasn't changed very much with the flow of things. It's only changed our priority. If our goal is not only the perfect start in 1.21, but also a fast track down to the trial chambers, well, off to the caves, next up it is. More specifically, it's off to the deepest, largest cave that we can find that's nice and wide open. Along the way, though, you might want to pick up some more basic supplies. You know, things like extra logs and some torches. If our goal was the trial chambers, which totally, yes, absolutely it is, then our current goal is definitely going to be a little bit of diamonds. You see, ideally, if we could find a ton of diamonds, like maybe enough for a set of armor, then our experience inside of the chamber is going to be a whole lot easier. Great news though, the trial chamber, at least the non-ominous version of it, well, it's kind of described as a mid-game challenge, which means theoretically, if you're good enough with combat, a full iron set of armor, maybe a couple of enchantments thrown in the mix should be pretty good. Right now, what we're going to want to do is run around inside of a big, large, deep cave and look around all over the place. This is going to be your easiest, fastest way to find diamonds, but it might be a little bit dangerous today, or creeper. We're gonna need to be careful, but we want to run around inside of these big, wide open, deep caves and look all over the walls for diamonds. So far, no luck. No bueno. I take it back. Early game, my diamond goal is usually something like 24 or so diamonds, but if you can get all the way up to half a stack or a little bit more. Hey, hold up. When you find the diamond, always dig around the diamond. Oh, how did I almost forget about that? Before you head down to the trial chambers, you're going to want to gear up at least a little bit. If you can manage to get a little over half a stack of diamonds, you could have full diamond everything, and enough diamonds for an enchanting table too. Great news, if you're coming back to Minecraft, you haven't played in a minute, well, diamonds are wonderfully more common down inside of these big caves now. One of the in-between updates of Minecraft 1.20 increased the diamond generation down low. It was wonderful. Now, while we're down here spelunking for diamonds, we also want to take note of the cave generation. I haven't seen anything quite yet that is very suspicious. However, if you can find a strange looking wall that is oddly clumpy, like maybe clumpier than normal, or very suspiciously flat, then you're going to want to write down the coordinates or maybe even just dig around right from the start. You might have found a trial chamber. See, the thing with existing down low in these caves is the fact that we're also existing exactly where the trial chamber likes to generate. Trial chambers typically generate right around Y0, and when they generate around Y0, that's like a start. They'll extend upwards and downwards. Wow, a little side note, this is going beautifully. I've spent not very much time in this cave at all, and I'm already looking at a little over a quarter stack of diamonds. That's not bad. Right now, at this point of the game, about 20 or so diamonds secured. I could totally head it back up to the servers if I wanted to, or I could stick it out a little longer. So real quick, an example of potential trial chamber generation inside of the caves. I mean, what in the world do I have here? Is it maybe a trial chamber? There's only one way to find out. You dig a couple blocks out and oh yeah. All right, yeah, spoiler alert, but yeah, this is definitely a trial chamber. If you find a wall of tough bricks or anything copper inside of the caves, you've done it, you found a chamber. But trial chambers have this feature in generation where they try and encase themselves fully in blocks if possible. When that happens, usually you're going to get strange walls that are really flat looking and pretty plain inside of a cave. Say this wall, for example, look at how long this thing is and oddly flat it is compared to the other side, and I mean there's a little bit more motion going on down low and stuff. It's not a bad idea if you find a strange flat wall like this inside of 1.21 to maybe dig a couple blocks flat straight back into this wall. It's not going to work every time, but usually, after a couple of blocks, say like 5 or less, you will break your way into a trial chamber if there is a chamber there. Look for the flat walls, or I mean, just look for the tough bricks, because that wall casing generation, it definitely doesn't always work. Sometime later, back up on the surface at Home Sweet Home, my sugarcane farm has been killing it. I've harvested the sugarcane farm a couple of times and maybe say found some out in the wild while I was exploring around looking for a cave. Right now we're trying to stockpile us some paper. This farm that we're setting up needs to be big, but not the largest thing in the world. The amount of paper that we're going to need to pull off all of this trading stuff, if we're lucky the first time, is going to be approximately 2 stacks of paper. That means if you can say have a farm that has 64 plants, you harvest it one time, you'll get all of the sugarcane that you need. Because the trade that we're going to use is not a guaranteed trade though, I don't recommend harvesting your entire farm and ruining it, not replanting. I hate to say it, but there is definitely the chance that we go through the work, the grinding, level up a villager, waste the materials, and then it just doesn't have the trade. On the other hand, if you've already located a trial chamber when you were down in the caves, well, great news, you don't need to do any of the trading. Anyways, back over at Home Sweet Home with a little bit more materials, it's time we go ahead and take those materials and put them to good use. The things that you are going to want to prioritize when heading into the trial chambers is definitely going to be combat and defense. A diamond pickaxe could be nice and cool to have, but more importantly, probably stuff like diamond armor, diamond sword, maybe even a diamond axe if you like to use that for combat, or even scraping copper balls. Like I mentioned earlier, the chamber is considered a mid-game challenge, which means maybe even a combination of diamond and some iron should be good enough if you're careful. While you were down in the caves, you might have also found some spoders and took them out. Maybe consider making yourself a bow too. How in the world do I do it? But also at the same time, there's one big mob, the Breeze, where range doesn't work ever, so you might not even need it. So at this point, you've probably been in your world for a second now. You've done your grinding, maybe even a little bit of beautifying. If you're nervous about the chambers, your next step is going to be enchanting. Now, in Minecraft to Java, if you built that beautiful cow crusher farm, getting your hands on the leather, and if you've been setting up the sugarcane farm, getting all of the ingredients to build your enchanting setup shouldn't be a problem at all. However, you're going to need an enchanting table, which means diamond pickaxe. Maybe you need one after all. And hopefully you find a little bit of lapis down low too. When it comes to enchantments and enchanted things that you should maybe prioritize, take a look at any of the diamond stuff that you have and consider trying to upgrade it even a little bit. The diamond sword should be a big priority. Looting is always nice, but also the diamond armor as well. When it comes to the armor, just a generic protection is probably the best way you could go. Because of the mobs that we're going to deal with inside of this thing, I mean, they're kind of all over the place. So having general better protection is good. When it comes to the sword, on the other hand, I mean, you don't need to go too ham and build the god sword of your dreams. But an enchantment like Sharpness or an enchantment like Smite, those are probably going to be your best bet, again, because of the mobs that you're going to end up dealing with inside of this thing. With the level 30 enchanting setup and a little bit of luck, you might be able to get something like this that's at least a little bit decent and should work. Bright and early the next morning, it's time we set out on a little adventure. You see, with all of our stuff kind of lined up and us basically ready to go and head down to the trial chamber, there is one final thing we need to do. Assuming you haven't located yourself a trial chamber quite yet, like you didn't find one in the cave, it's time we need to level up a villager and get to trading. Now, there are a couple different things that we're going to want to have for this villager trading extravaganza. The first big thing we've been talking about it all episode long, paper. You need to have yourself about 2 stacks of paper. The other thing that you're going to want to have is about 2 stacks, or actually just 1 and a little bit more, of glass panes. With all of that in mind, if you can head out into your world and find about a stack of sand, you should be good to go. But if you can find more, because again, that trade is not guaranteed, you never know your luck, well then absolutely 100% take your time and get more. So you can start to see right here where finding a village early on becomes absolutely clutch. With the village located, I would not have to do the next step of heading out into the world and finding a village. You see, now that I already know where a village is and I'm kind of living inside of one as my home sweet home, all I need to do is make myself a cartography table, wait for one of these nitwit fools to make their way over to it, and take the job. Now take a look at this trade right here, 24 paper for 1 emerald. If you're not messing with those experimental villager trades that aren't technically in 1.21, well, yeah, if you're not messing with those trades, then this trade should always be basically the same thing. Using about 2 stacks of paper, we'll take that paper trade at first and level the buddy up. Once it levels up, we have a map trade right here. We ignore that. And we have a glass pane trade right there. That's what we want next. So that means it's time for my first furnace of the world somehow mysteriously, and a little bit of sand and coal inside of it. Once my glass is smelted up, it's time we go ahead and take this trade. Now we're going to take this trade enough times to level it up and nothing more. After that, we stop. You can see we're just entering the second stack of glass panes too. Now, the moment of truth. If it works, I need to go find a compass. If it didn't work, I need to find another villager. Oh, but baby, it worked right there. 10 emeralds, which I just got from trading with a villager, and 1 compass. Those 2 combinations of things for the ticket to success and the end of the perfect start for 1.21. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. However, if that didn't work, sometimes you won't have the map trade there. Unfortunately, what you have to do is, you gotta find another cartographer villager and repeat the process exactly with the panes and the paper until you see that map trade at level 3. It will always be at level 3. So right here, needing a little bit of redstone, you can see why heading down into the caves ASAP, specifically deeper and bigger the better, is probably your best move for 1.21. We could use a little bit of redstone, combine it with iron to make this compass, buy the map, and then take a look at this thing. Now this map will lead us to the closest trial chamber, and look at that, already colored in. They're pretty common. To use this map to locate a trial chamber, it's pretty straightforward. Hold it in your hands to look around. If you're on the bottom of this thing, you need to find the north direction and move in it. On Java, to find the direction you're facing, instead of the F3 screen, you see that section right there facing north. Yep, that's the ticket. Facing west, facing east, that's how you figure it out. On Minecraft Bedrock, we're gonna have to do things the old-fashioned way. The sun, that friend, it rises in the east and sets in the west. So take a look at the sun, figure out which way it's moving. Whatever direction it's headed towards right now is going to be west. Knowing that that way is west, I would be able to turn 90 degrees this way and figure out that that's north. You could also totally just use the icon on the map. Like, look at the map and move around. If your cursor is moving in the direction that isn't towards the map, well, then you're probably going the wrong way and you need to turn. Now after that, using the map itself is so straightforward. Get yourself on the map, use the map, and make your way to that little icon that's sitting right there, a little bit above center. The beautiful thing is the fact that on both versions of the game, Bedrock and Java, the trial chamber structure is a pretty common structure. It shouldn't be very rare at all. In fact, it actually seems like 50% of the time I get these maps, I'm already on the map or like literally right next to it. Oh wow, it's a full circle moment. The map takes us all the way back to where we started our journey today with that special little portal. Oh, don't make me get emotional. And so we've done it. Just like that, with the help of a tiny little map, I've located my way over to the trial chamber. Now, great news, the trial chamber is a pretty large structure. If your chamber happens to be sitting right underwater, well, depending on how close you can get on the land, you'll probably be fine if you're a little bit off center of this icon. As long as you're close to the icon, you should theoretically, when you start digging down, hit the trial chamber. Now still, remember, never dig straight down. Instead of digging straight down on, say, one single block, I'll stand on the middle of these two blocks, disregarding the fact of me ever trying to get out of the chamber. I don't know how that's gonna work. But anyways, the safest way to dig straight down, if you really can't wait any longer for the trial chamber structure, is to stand in the middle of two blocks and start digging right down. Alternatively, maybe if you want to come in and out, turn the thing into a farm later on, well, maybe just make a staircase instead. Now, the trial chamber structure, it will usually generate right around Y0, but it can extend upwards or downwards. That should mean once you start reaching right down and near Y0, you're in prime chamber range. You've got an option right around once you start seeing deep slate. If you want to continue digging straight down, alternatively, you could start digging little branches off just to see if maybe you're missing something or whatever. Another great thing you could use your advantage here is sounds. Not that this chamber inherently makes very many sounds, it's going to be empty, but just take a look at the subtitles. If you see anything weird, maybe you got something strange. Just like that, I've made it to the chamber and the end of the video, the episode today. Minecraft 1.20. If you got the update and you can't wait to jump into the chambers, you want that perfect start, well, that's just about how it's done. For even more guides on the trial chamber, how we dive into it, check out the Everything series playlist. I got some stuff out already, but that survival experience, well, that'll be coming very soon in the Minecraft guide once the update's actually out for me. And so for today's guide episode, going from rags to copper, what do you think? Is there something else that you should do right first thing inside of 1.21? If there is and I missed it, call it down below. And thank you all so much for watching. On the end card will be the playlist of this series. If you're planning on keeping your world and you haven't yet, check out the things you need to do in your world right now before the update to help prepare yourself. It's been me, Waddles. I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.